Kevin Finn and your fabulous girlfriend, Deja. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, which I'm probably botching it up. So thumbs up to your girlfriend for having to endure listening to me through all these videos. But thank you. And he is with California Shine Mobile Detailing out of Santa Cruz, California, which is a beautiful city along the coast north of Southern California. So thumbs up, thank you again, and hope you enjoy the video.
Okay, so here's one of our models. It's a Model S instead of a Model X. This is a 2014 Tesla. So let's check this out and we'll go on the inside.
Now this car retails for $124,000. How do I know that? Well, I have the original window sticker right in front of me. So here we are. It will say the date of manufacture is 2014 Tesla Model S Performance. Now take a look at this number right at the bottom, $124,000. That's not cheap. That's a lot of money. These upgraded wheels alone, 21-inch wheels, are $4,500. So notorious with all these Teslas is the horrid, well, let's just back up a little bit. The materials, just not up to par. Not for a $100,000 plus car. The fit and finish, once again, not up to par with a $100,000 plus car. Specifically, as I noted in the Model X, is these really bad floor mats, the front floor mats. So here we have, and this, because we have been taking care of this car since day one. So as a rule, when I show up, every time, the floor mat is wadded up just like this. You see this nice hump to it, which to me, and some of you pointed out, is a nice safety hazard. I've already pre-vacuumed this before I'm going to shampoo it. Now on the back here, right here, there's supposed to be these sticky Velcro, or what's called hook and back loop type of fastener that hooks to this other hook and loop fastener here. This simply screws into the floor mat. So if I sit here, and because it's already stripped, let's just call it that, it doesn't really screw in and out. This is not the only car that uses types of fasteners. I think the Maserati now uses them too, which once again is inferior and, in my opinion, cheap. But because this adhesive piece that's supposed to contain the back and loop is so bad, and it actually wads up to the point where it just becomes such an aggravating pain in the ass, you just have to peel them off. So now this is just a rubberized piece that it's supposed to stick to. Like I said, these floor mats have already been replaced once under warranty. Now we're on round 2 here, and these don't even stick whatsoever because there's nothing to stick to right here. We have the hook and loop here, the one side of the hook and loop that's supposed to attach it. So every time it's like, okay, I have to readjust these, try to push this hump out, flatten it out so that my customer can kind of do a do-over. But then each time we see this car, it has been pushed back up to this almost permanent hump that gets like this. And the longer the time goes in between our servicing, the higher that hump will become. So once again, it just, the fit and finish, materials, that type of stuff.
So I'm pretty sure that when I say a love-hate relationship, that implies that I also love it. So for the record, this is what I'm going to lead with. I love, love, love Teslas. But it truly is a love-hate relationship, which means that for every love, there's almost a hate. It's a tough balance act. So here I am with yet another Model S, and yes, we have our infamous jet interrupting the audio of the moment. I tried to get the customer on record so that you could get the wisdom straight from the customer's mouth. He was on a phone call. Maybe next time. Point is this Model S, it's a 2014. That's what the tag says, although just for the record, just because the tag on the door or the door jamb says the year does not mean that's the actual year that the registration will show. There is a discrepancy there sometimes. So that's the when it was actually manufactured is that tag versus when it was sold. 2014 model. For the record, December 2014. So many complaints, and most of these are via if you're in the land of the UK and British domain, is by the customer, meaning he has told me the complaints. Yes, as a detailer, it is all about the details. So I will automatically scrutinize as I'm cleaning and detailing. So on this particular car, check this out. And let me address the front, or I should say the infamous front floor mats. Now, if we look into here, you see how nicely this is laying? You want to know why this is laying so nicely? Because these floor mats have been replaced, wait for it, not once, but twice, because the Velcro backing, this inferior setup, which this is not the only car that has the inferior setup. Once again, the problem is that for this price level, I feel that this should be better than that. So this is why it's laying so nicely, is because it's the third set of floor mats. Whether the customer actually went to the dealership or not, or whether Ricky Ranger, I guess that's the appropriate term for customer service with Tesla, is that a Ranger will come out and service your car on the spot. Okay, that's cool, cooler than having to take your car in. But how about this? How about for this price tag, we shouldn't have to deal with these certain annoyances, engineering flaws, whatever you want to label them. That's my point, which was 3 points. One, the counterintuitiveness of these cars. So if you don't know what that means that it goes counter to what we either have accepted or have been trained to believe or accept. So in a lot of cars, we have come to be familiar with the way certain things operate. Then when it comes to this car, it's counter to that. It's like, whoa, wait, I'm used to this working like this, but now it doesn't, and now I'm confused. And I know the simple answer is like, oh, well, when you buy the car, the dealer doesn't just hand you the keys and say, off you go. It's like, well, I get it, but how much information are you really gonna retain in that moment? Because you're so amped up with emotions anyways, because you just made the purchase of your life, and you get to be the cool kid on the block with your Tesla. See, there I am, getting all derogatory on Tesla, but I will add, I love Teslas. Love-hate relationship. So yes, they instruct you. There's of course the wonderful reading encyclopedia that's literally like the size of an encyclopedia for cars with all their endless information. But this phone, iPhone 7 Plus, I use about like 5% of its capacity, but nonetheless, there I am using it. So, counterintuitiveness. The randomness of which the things operate as they're designed to operate. So when I did the review of the Model X, and people say like, oh, hey, knucklehead, insert your particular adjective in that moment, you can program the trunk so it only goes halfway or all the way, and the doors can go up all the way. It's like, yeah, I know that. But that's part of my complaint, is that when you program it, it still is arbitrary. It's random. It's inconsistent. You don't know what you're going to get from moment to moment. That was the complaint. I get that you can program it, and I'll correct myself on the seats that I said flip back or are supposed to, based on intuition, as in most cars that I have come across that have a button. It's not just for the headrest, unless it's the Mercedes cars where they have a little button on the dash that pops down the headrest while you're driving, so you can have better visibility out the rear window. So what was so counterintuitive to this is that it's rear seats. It's very awkward to reach back and not have a button without straining your back. It's like, oh, wow, oh, heaven forbid, Darren, we got to strain our backs. It's like, well, if you've had a look around the world, there's a lot of people that have difficulty in leaning over. So What was really counterintuitive about that moment is that when you push the button, you hear this motor that releases the headrests that come down. But the motor continues to go, even though the headrests are completely down. And therefore, I believe, at least according to my intuition, that there's some anticipation that something is still in the process of happening. Perhaps the seats will proceed to lower or raise for convenience, because in many SUVs, which the Model X is a form of an SUV, they do that. That's the intuition, or that's what we have been groomed to learn, is like, oh, here's the button, it will lower and raise the back seats for convenience. So when I hear the engine or motor continue to whine and buzz, even though the headrests are completely down, I am sitting there waiting. It's like, oh, when are these seats going to finally pop up? I get it. That's not the way it was designed, but it's still counterintuitive. The third thing, which was counterintuitive, randomness, is the pour for the price tag. The fit and finish, the material quality. That was the third complaint. I think for a car that costs, I don't know, entry level, this car actually is the base model of this year, maybe was 80,000. Likely one of you fanboys or girls of Tesla will confirm that for me. I know, like on the white one that I'm about to show you, that was 124,000, at least the sticker tag was. I know the Model X, I'm pretty confident, is more than 120,000. The point being is, for that level of entry, which is substantial, I think the fit and finish and the quality of the materials should be far better than what we see in the cars. That was my additional point. So let's go around this car in particular and point out some of the flaws. Now, I did confirm this with the customer. On the front end here, you'll notice this nice cool gap, because what happens is when he pulls in and parks, it's got this automatic air ride adjustment that lowers the car, which makes it easier to get out of the car by, let's say, an inch. The problem is it doesn't automatically go up until you put it in drive, apparently. And I did confirm with the customer. I said, hey, Marty, but can that be programmed? Because it's one thing to have the ability to program. It's another thing for that programming to actually remain in place and not be random in its operation. He said, no, you cannot program it. It's been the third time it's been into the dealer to get it fixed, because when you pull up to a tire stop and it lowers down onto the tire stop, which is that, in case you don't know what that means, in a parking lot, often there are these cement type of things positioned so that your tires stop, hence the label, tire stop, and you don't go further than you're supposed to. I know the simple answer would be, don't drive over the tire stop. How many of us can remember to do that? We have busy lives. Or, wait for it, Tesla could actually design it so that when you get in and shut the door, it automatically goes back up. Or they could program it to do that in the future. Maybe they have, I don't know. But I'm pretty sure, based on a lot of your guys' comments, that when you say, oh, but they fixed that in the subsequent models, it's like, oh, suddenly I feel so much better. I happen to buy one of the first faulty models, but I feel so much better because I know they fixed it for the other customers. So my bad for buying the first year or the second year. How would that work? I mean, honestly, what if I said to my customer, oh, I'm sorry, I screwed up your windows. They were all streaked and smeared, or your paint was, but you know what? I got it right on my other customer's car. Do you think that would fly? I mean, let's dissect that logic. On to the next. You want to know why this paint is worn off? I know many of you will think like, oh, Johnny customer keeps hitting it. Well, these buttons, door handles, you push them and they open if the key fob is close enough. But the problem is, let me lock that and see if it'll. So the problem is
is that these are out of alignment, just like that door was on the Model X. Now if I can just get these door handles to go back in. There they go. So if we look, you see the gap in between here? And then we look at the gap in between here, like especially right at this corner. And right down here, I can literally feel in my finger how this handle is laying below this body line right here. So every time this comes out, it grabs this edge and wears it right off. See this edge right here where the paint is missing? This is from the customer hitting his garage door or his garage when he's inside the garage and has worn the paint off. That's his fault. That's a Tesla moment. That's out of alignment. So every time it comes out, it's gonna hit that because it's misaligned.
Which, once again, I find not only counterintuitive, but ironic. Where's the irony in that? Well, for example, if we're going to fabricate and engineer these really cool door handles that is going to draw additional attention to them, it's like, oh, okay, here the key is. Maybe I just need to open up the front. The key fob is within range. Why is the door not opening? Now it opens. Once again, randomness, arbitrary. I don't want the car deciding for me when it's going to work or not. I just want it to work. And if I program it, I want it to work as according to me programming it. Back to the point, if we're gonna make these very cool door handles and draw attention to it, I, as a car manufacturer, would be very cautious to make sure that they worked properly. Because if I'm going to showcase something and highlight it and make it cool, whatever, it's like, do I really want to draw attention to the fact of the misalignment? Honestly, it's kind of like the women that are, you know, let's say they take up more real estate than other women and they get this like piercing in their navel. It's like, do we really want to draw attention to that part of your body? I know, what an a-hole, right? Just thinking outside the box.
Here we have the gasket for moonroof, sunroof, whatever you want to call this roof. It's glass. Now this is a very common problem among a lot of car manufacturers, but on a car that's 4, possibly 5 years old at best, for this to be torn and ripped like this. And yes, I know you're going to say like, oh, well, Johnny Customer did it. It's like, well, did he? And the glass here is starting to delaminate, which once again, Tesla is not the only problem, or not the only car company with that problem. I'm just saying, for a $100,000 plus car, I think that perhaps we should get a little better. So let me discuss one of the other wonderful moments about this car is the window on that side was getting jacked up. And by jacked up, meaning it would not roll up all the way. And there was this really, and you could hear this like grinding noise. And there was this really thick, gooey, black grease that would come up and down with the window. That's how it started first. So every time I got to clean the car, especially in the summertime when it's scorching hot, and that, like, I mean, it's thicker than like axle grease. I know that's like a term we all like to use as though that's the thickest grease in the world, but it might as well be chewing gum. Imagine chewing gum, black, on the window in the middle of the summer, and you're trying to clean it off with window cleaner or something else. It's a big fat mess, because when you clean off the chunks, you still have this greasy mess to clean up. So that was happening over there. That has been, he's had to deal with that 3 times before they actually got it right. Yes, Ricky Ranger came out and tried to do it on location, and what they did is they removed these B-pillar panels on the interior to access the door for whatever reason. When they put them back on, and I came to see the car following that, they had used some kind of chemical that actually dried the crap out of these panels, so they were all this hazy white. Now I'm thinking, okay, if I'm the technician, Ricky Ranger, Do I really want to leave that for the customer to check out? Simple answer is no. Never mind the fact that it doesn't actually fit in place like it's supposed to. And yes, this is where many of you will say like, wow, dude, you're like a glass is half empty kind of guy, aren't you? Aren't you being a little overly critical? Well, once again, this is what I would expect on an entry-level car that costs $12,000 to, let's say, $16,000, not $80,000 to $120,000. Just saying. So they tried to fix that 3 times. They finally got it right. But the fun doesn't stop there. Not on this one. What we are looking at is the sunroof.
I'll show you what I'm looking at. There's the front windshield, there's the dash. Going up, there's the header where the visors are at.
And I'm moving backwards. So this sunroof pulls out or pulls back and opens. So this black goo right here, he's been trying to resolve this, probably at least 7 months now. He just finally gave up because this black goo is this really thick, greasy schmang that is miserable to work with. And see how it just smears? So every time I clean it, every time he opens it, we get more black goo on it,
which is the same black goo that was on this side window over here.
Have we had enough fun yet? So I will also, as I led with it, I will close with it that yes, I love Tesla. I love polishing the paint. I love how they can go or accelerate at breakneck speeds, like 0 to 60 in under 3 seconds. That's insanely fast. I get it. It's very appealing. The technology, the speed, the quickness, all that stuff. Generally what customers really love is the fact that they get to pass the gas stations endlessly. They never have to stop for gas. Of course, you have to get your house rewired so that it's got a 220 current electrical outlet that comes out of your garage so you can charge it at night, but subtle inconveniences, right? So I will end by saying that once again, I love Tesla, but yes, it is a true love and hate relationship. I'll let you decide, and by all means, let the comments flow. All you keyboard jockeys and whatever, let them flow. We'll see you on the page.